Today, we will be going over a wrestling technique from the Final Fight series. This is a move that doesn't really exist in the wrestling world. This is the double lariat, also informally known as the spinning clothesline. So, let's get into it. Origin of the double lariat. Growing up watching wrestling, I do not remember hearing or seeing this mover being used. I even decided to go down the timeline of wrestling and watch matches leading up to the current times of wrestling and still did not see this move done. Now, of course, I haven't watched every match of wrestling, since it is a thing that is done in multiple countries with their own style. But the big matches and tag team matches that would have a reason to execute the move. With that being the case, let's take a step back and go over the lariat. A lariat is a move in which one wrestler runs towards their opponent and strikes them by extending their arm straight out and moving it forward at a downward angle against their upper chest area. This move is often confused with a clothesline, which does not involve forward momentum of the arm. Okay, so this move definitely isn't an advanced or variation of this move. It seems that it has just adopted the name. Now, looking at the clothesline, a clothesline is a move in which one wrestler steps towards another and extends his or her arm out from the side of the body and parallel to the ground, hitting the opponent in the upper chest and knocking him or her over. This move is often confused with a lariat. Okay, so these two moves are very similar, so it's understandable why they are confused and why this move has adopted the name that it has. That would mean that the term double lariat is actually a misnomer due to the fact that a lariat involves running towards an opponent, wrapping an arm around their upper chest and forcing them to the ground, while a clothesline uses the momentum of a forward step. If this were to be a true double lariat, it would need to involve two people running to an opponent, executing the lariat motion. A more accurate term for this move would be a spinning clothesline, as the attack involves striking an opponent with an extended arm multiple times while spinning in place or with a small forward momentum and knocking them down. Hence the informal name being correct. In the world of wrestling, the clothesline has its variations, and they are the cactus clothesline, the corner clothesline, the flying clothesline, the rebound clothesline, the short arm clothesline, the springboard clothesline, and the three-point stance clothesline. The lariat is similar with the crooked arm lariat, the discus lariat, the flying lariat, the lariat takedown, the northern lariat, sometimes called the Enzwa lariato, the ripcord lariat, the short arm lariat, and the western lariat. Now, in the Street Fighter universe, it's not that clear, but we grew up playing the games with this misunderstanding. The move is executed by pressing all three punch or kick buttons. The warrior stretches his arms out horizontally, clenches his fists, and spins on axis in an effort to hit the opponent. An alternate quick version can also be executed by pressing all three kick buttons. In Street Fighter 6, the input for this move is pressing two punches instead of three or pressing down and special attack for modern control. Pressing all three punch buttons has the warrior perform the OD version where it hits the opponent twice. The attack greatly reduces the size of the hitbox while in motion, and warrior cannot be knocked out of it with most attacks based on which buttons he uses. When performed with the punch buttons, the spin's slower but for a longer time, and is invulnerable above his waist, thus allowing most projectiles to pass him with ease and granting better chances of hitting standing or airborne opponents. However, when performed with the kick buttons, the spin's faster but for a shorter time. They are also invulnerable below his waist, thus allowing him to dodge projectiles and other attacks which do not travel above midsection height. Since this move derives from two separate moves, I will list the characters that use both the moves. The character in the Street Fighter universe that use these moves are Zangief McZangief, uses the double lariat after witnessing Hager use it in a fight, and the Cyclone Lariat as a super art. Rainbow Mika from Street Fighter Alpha series. She uses the Gutsy Lariat, rushes forward to deliver a strong clothesline to knock the opponent away. Sunrise Nishizenba from Street Fighter S Iwashigahama, Japan Women's Pro Wrestling. She has a special move called the Lariat Tequila Sunset. Alex from Street Fighter 3 series. He uses the Lariat as a unique attack and the clothesline as a special attack during his red shift power-up called the Sledgehammer. Urian from the Street Fighter 3 series. He uses the move in his super art called Tyrant Slaughter. Gil from Street Fighter 3 series. Cyber Lariat that turns into the Pyro Cyber Lariat and the Zero Cyber Lariat respectively. Hugo Anor from Street Fighter and Final Fight series. He has the Monster Lariat, Hammer Mountain Frenzy. Black from the Final Fight series. He uses the double lariat in his special spin move. Mike Hager from the Final Fight and Slam Masters series. He has the clothesline and the flying clothesline in the Slam Masters games, and the originator of the double lariat coming from the Final Fight games and in his Slam Master appearances. Alexander the Greater from the Slam Masters series. He uses the clothesline and the flying clothesline in the series, seeing as he is Hager's tag team partner. Finally, Biff Slamkovich, Gunlock, the Great Oni, King Rastaman, Jumbo Flapjack, the Scorpion, and Victor Ortega from the Slam Masters series. They all use the clothesline that acts like the lariat. In other Capcom games, there are Capcom characters that use the moves as well. These characters are Gorilla Mask, Dr. Ion, wrestlers, and the Bouncer from God Hand all use the double lariat as an attack. Frank West from the Dead Rising series uses a double lariat in two of his special moves in Project X Zone. As in his said home series, Frank is able to naturally learn a double lariat technique in that vein. Outside of Capcom games, there are many characters that also use the move as well. Some of them are: in the Simpsons arcade game made by game developer Konami, one variation of the Fat Thug enemies is capable of an attack similar to double lariat, spinning much faster than Zangief. The other variation shakes the player until they escape or run out of health, but is incapable of the maneuver. In Fighting EX Layer, Darren Mister, who is a playable character in the Street Fighter EX series, uses a lariat as a special move and his Twilight Lariat and Dust Lariat as super combos that work like multiple clotheslines. In the Naruto series, 4th Raikage A and Killer B, who uses a true double lariat as described by the definition of a lariat called Lightning Release, double lariat. Two users perform the technique from both behind and in front of the opponent, creating a scissor effect, up to close to light speed. They both are able to use the Lightning Release, Lariat along with Blue B, and the 3rd Raikage A, Killer B, is able to use the Tailed Beast Lariat when transformed into his Tailed Beast form. Might Guy's Oneself's rule shows him performing what appears to be a regular lariat. In the Kinnikuman series, Neptune Man and Big the Budo use the Cross Bomber, which is a variation of the Coral Bomber done by a tag team. The users of the technique charge at a target and simultaneously clothesline them from the front and behind. Other variations of this move in this series are Japanese English Cross Bomber, Sword Bomber, Longhorn Bomber, Aegiri Bomber, Cross Enzui, Optical Fiber Cross Bomber, Magnetica Bomber, Turnover Coral Bomber, Turnover Coral Cross Bomber, and Volcano Bomber. Variations. Since this move is a combination or merger of two moves, I will include the variations of both. The variations are the Lariat, a classic wrestling move where the wrestler charges at their opponent with a powerful clothesline to the neck or upper body. The Lariat is known for its dramatic effect and impact, often sending the opponent crashing to the mat. Versions of this move in the Street Fighter universe are Gutsy Lariat, Monster Lariat, Cyber Lariat, and the Sledgehammer. The Clothesline, a variation of the diving clothesline where the wrestler wraps their attacking arm around the opponent's neck. This is a unique attack for the characters in the Slam Masters series. Also, the Sledgehammer would a version of this as well. The Flying Lariat, a variation of the diving clothesline where the wrestler wraps their attacking arm around the opponent's neck. A version of this move would be the Lariat Tequila Sunset. Double Lariat. The wrestler stretches their arms out horizontally, clenches his fists, and spins on axis in an effort to hit the opponent with a spinning clothesline. A variation of this is the Cyclone Lariat, which is also a Super R. Hammer Mountain, a Super R. OUTRO. I think it is interesting that the Lariat and the clothesline were merged into one for the Street Fighter universe. As you go through each variation of both moves, they all cross over as if the names are interchangeable. Well, that is all I have for the double Lariat. If you think I missed something, let me know in the comments and I'll look into it. Until next time, warriors.